Good morning.
What's up? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I got your oh, look at my pink shirt. I forgot I was wearing a pink shirt.
What's on it? Looks like a sloth or something. Or a
Rodney
giant-
Dangerfield.
How you
Love
doing?
Rodney Dangerfield.
And welcome to everybody that's tuning in. Happy Wednesday. How are things shaking over in your part of the world?
I'm fired up. Yeah, my son's been asking to go for a morning run. So like 6:45. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, 6:45, and I'm not used to that time at all. And so it's like, I don't know, like it's a wild thing, right? Because I like hated it day one. I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it. And then it's like, I can't hear myself. Let me turn that up. Okay. I hated it. And I'm like, this doesn't feel good. This isn't right. So why does it feel so good? Like yesterday, like in the afternoon, I felt great. This morning, I feel great. Why is something like that feels so? I don't understand. Like any morning routine, I hate. I hate morning. I hate the morning. And then somehow it's like making me feel better.
Maybe it's the aspect that feels like effort.
Okay. It still feels like effort.
Yeah. But like sometimes, it goes back to what we talked about a few weeks ago about, there's multiple timeline versions of us. There's the one we're humanly experiencing right here, right now. And then there's like the highest timeline version of us. And that like human me's excitement might be to not exercise. But I know my highest timeline's excitement is to exercise and to be in shape. And then once I tune into both those timeline versions of me and become consciously aware of both those excitements, for me, the highest timeline excitement always feels the more exciting excitement. And I always roll with that.
So like, but in the moment, it felt bad. Like waking up. No, I don't. I'm gonna go back to bed. I want to hit snooze. I want to be.
Totally.
Yeah, right. And so it's like, yeah, how is that still highest timeline? But it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's like it comes down to the perspectives we choose or the stories we tell. It's like Bashar says, everything in physical reality is neutral. We're the ones that assign meaning to it.
Okay.
Right. So
yeah.
So I could see laying in bed, like I stayed in bed for an extra half an hour this morning. It's darker out in the morning.
Yeah.
It's colder. The bed was nice and cozy. I just laid in bed and practiced like expanding my energy field and dropping into my heart for half an hour.
Okay, tell me about that.
And well, somebody could label that as, oh, you were in bed for an extra half an hour, lazy, bad, shame, guilt, right? And that goes from neutral to, negative vibration. Or, wow, that was so vibrationally productive. That felt really good. Then that's a positive perspective, so positive vibration. So in all circumstances, we get to define, we get to take it from neutrality to wherever we want to take it. And if you're a conscious creator, then you have the awareness that, yeah, taking a neutral vantage point into a positive state is much more beneficial than taking it from neutral to a negative state.
So what was your expanding energy field? What was that look like?
Just dropping in out of my mind, like, because by default we're all up here, right? So it's like grounding, dropping into here, and then once you drop into here, like when I drop into here, I can feel the energy running through my legs and my feet, like especially the bottom half of my legs. And then from there, I expand and open up my center, which opens up your receptivity.
How long did you do it for?
Off and on for like half an hour.
Okay, cool. It just felt good, so just keep doing it.
Yeah, just keep. I know that that's going to nurture my connection to source. I know that that's going to open up more channels of receptivity. The more open your heart is, the greater your container size is in your ability to receive. And I'm not doing it from the vantage point of like, I'm doing this so that I can manifest bigger or more. I'm doing it because like, there's nothing that feels better than a strong connection to source.
You do this every morning?
not every morning. It's when I feel inspired, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
the last couple of weeks, I've done it maybe 2 or 3 times, but I've slowly been noticing that I've been doing it more and more.
Hmm. Do you think like just because of the weather change, or like I mean, are you just trying something new, or is it new?
Just my natural evolution and unfolding.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's really nice. Like, yeah, I mean, because I wanted to ask you more morning practice stuff just because it's on my mind. Oh, you're having real coffee today.
And it's good too.
I got your tea. I got your Glen Mite,
Oh,
or yeah,
and
whatever it's called.
I actually went on YouTube this week and I searched how to pronounce it's pronounced, I think, Genmaicha.
Genmaicha. I got it. I don't think I brewed it high enough.
Do you
It's
like
supposed to
it?
be 180. Yeah, it's really good actually. It's
Yeah.
my thing was only 165, so I don't know if that matters.
I don't measure it. I just boil water and dump it in.
Yeah, yeah. I just
When you
use
look at it,
coffee.
does yours have little pieces of like popped popcorn in it?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Same stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I had coffee before this though, so I'm sure it's.
Did you have
I've
coffee
got energy.
before
I
or
got peak energy.
did you have coffee before or after you went running?
I went after, right after. It's cold. I just want to adjust. Okay. Yeah, it was really cold.
Define cold.
Okay, no, it's not cold yet, but it's gonna be. It's gonna be. This microphone wants to keep adjusting. I wonder if I'm clipping.
No, you're good. You sound perfect from
Does
here.
it sound like up and down when I adjust it?
No, not at all.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Good
so
morning.
it's like,
Diana.
yeah, today's pretty warm. Tomorrow's gonna be. Today's 58 degrees. That's pretty hot. But like,
Yeah.
I think tomorrow's 30, so 0 degrees for you.
Actually, this weekend it's getting up to 20 Celsius, which is 70 Fahrenheit almost.
Okay.
But overnight it's going down to about freezing. So, we could be, we could get snow. My guess is in 2 to 4 weeks we'll start getting snow.
They have some ice warning for us.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just talking weather. That's my favorite thing to do. That's my favorite small talk. Why is that? I love that. It's so easy.
It's such a default for people.
Right. Well, I was nervous, right? Because it's rut time here. So all
Rut time? Define
yeah,
rut.
do you know
time.
rut? You don't know rut?
Well, rut like in a rut.
Yeah. No, like rut meaning the deer are getting at it. They're getting
Oh,
after it.
like hunting season, you mean?
Yeah, so they do it around hunting season, but
Okay.
it's like breeding season essentially.
Okay.
And there's a spot I go walk, and like last year this time, it got wild. You've never heard of these noises. It was wild. Like they're killing each other or humping each other. I don't know, but it's scary. Anyway, so it was like dark out, and I'm like with my kid, I'm like waiting, looking around. Where are they? That was my excitement. So I'm jazzed up.
Yeah, it's hunting season here now, so we stay out of the woods during hunting season. Just to be safe.
Right. Yeah, it's the land is like it's like a preserve, so I'm not worried about getting shot. I'm more worried about getting stabbed by some antler.
Yeah,
How about you? What's new with you?
not a whole lot. Just working on the sauna, playing some disc golf till the weather gets too cold for that. That's about it.
You should get like an indoor course. Do they have indoor courses there? That'd be cool.
Oh gosh, no, because you wouldn't be able to fit one indoors. It's like the size of a golf course.
What about like they have those like virtual golf? You can throw your like disc into a screen.
I noticed there's like a VR
Is there?
disc golf game. I haven't looked at it, but I'd be worried about throwing the controller.
On Oculus?
Yeah.
Dude, like the other day, so how about this bottom? Like I put a little comment section. What do you think of that? Be part of the podcast. We're live.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah, let's talk to some people. What do you guys want to talk about? Hi, Sarah. Hey, Marie. Good morning to you. Hello, Morningstar. What can we talk about? No topics off the top of your head today?
Mine?
I
got stuff. I'm just chilling. What?
Okay, cool. Somebody was asking, I noticed on Reddit this morning, somebody asked, where did all these animated Abrahams come from? Why is all the Abraham-Hicks content animated?
All of them.
And I dropped a comment. I said, oh, I know the guy who started those. And dropped a little blurb. Didn't mention your name, but say, hey, he talks about it in one of our Coffee and Co-Creation episodes on YouTube. You should go check it out.
Yeah, they it's a wild thing, right? Because it's like my little ripple definitely took off.
Oh, it
And then
absolutely.
it's like, yeah. It's like, what have I done?
We gotta look more at the animated Anix stuff and the animated. We'll talk about that later, though. The animated School of Expansion.
Have you played with it at all? Have you done any of the
No,
animation on that thing?
No, I gotta log in. You gotta show me. I need like a little tutorial.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's just goes down to editing. Yeah. I've just been like busy with so much stuff that I've been thinking about this. I love this. This is fun.
This has been fun. I completely agree.
Yeah. And then we're clipping up stuff. This is real. I mean, I'm excited this is exciting. Like, this is going to be big. Everyone needs to like there's only like 400 subscribers. That's going to get big fast. People need to like say, hey, I was here in the very beginning, you know?
How many of you guys who are in the chat window how many of you guys have tuned into every episode? Anybody? How many? This is what, our 5th episode?
Yeah, 5th episode. Look at this. I love you, Nick. That's both of us.
I love how that's exactly what you just said. All right, some people have questions. Let's see. Drop your questions in the chat window.
I have a question for you, Nick. Okay, let's get after it.
Drop it in the chat window.
Yeah.
We got to get a Nick on one of these sometime too.
Looks like she's on there though.
In the chat, yeah, but we got to get her like live with us sometime and answer some audience questions. She's doing the channeling today in the collective, or in this School of Expansion. By the way, we're doing live hot seats with Anik, which will be fun.
Yeah. So, what time's that? That I got to be there.
That's at 3 Eastern. Same time as always for the expansion calls.
Okay, 3 Eastern. Got to write these things down. What about this? How about brewing up your questions?
There you go.
How about espresso yourself by leaving a question in the comments?
Who invited this guy? Where'd you come up with this stuff?
I'm espressoing myself. Okay. Wait, where are these? Oh, okay. When you asked who was there for the first one, Morningstar says me. My first.
Yeah, Diana's on her first call. Welcome, Diana.
Okay. All right.
Donatello, how can I chill out more?
Okay, let's go into this.
I would say the answer lies in the question. I'm going to answer the question with a question. And the question you want to ask yourself is, it's not safe to chill out because if I do. So if you're not giving yourself permission to chill out, then there's some kind of record playing in the back of your mind that's telling you that you shouldn't chill out. So it's about exploring what the belief system is, or what the perspective is, or what the story is that you're telling that's disallowing you to chill out. So ask yourself,
yeah. Go ahead.
So Donatello, ask yourself that question. It's not safe to chill out, or it's not safe to give myself permission to chill out, because if I do, see what comes up for you.
So with something like that, is how much of it matters like digging in where it came from, or just dealing with it from where it is?
I would say it's both.
Okay.
Because only the now exists, right? So, oftentimes when we're shifting beliefs and shifting stories, there are things that were anchored in the past, but they also exist here and now. Otherwise, they wouldn't be relevant. So it's by looking at the past, you're actually looking at what you're practicing now. And it's the vantage point of sometimes looking at the past that gives you the clarity on the story you're telling, so you can shift that story.
Okay.
Was that confusing?
No, but go ahead. I mean, is it confusing for you? I mean, like,
I don't know.
My face was, I was reading, my face wasn't there. But so, okay. Yeah. Like, how much of that is, what's the cause and effect there?
Well, the cause is a story I picked up sometime along my journey, right?
Of
Whether
course.
it be at 2-year-old or at 10-year-old or at 22-year-old. And then the effect is I'm still practicing a story or a belief today based on the experience and the story that I picked up in that experience at that past age.
Okay. And so like if you were, imagine you were isolated and no external thing caused you, it was just came from your own mind. Like, number one, how often does that happen? I would think most things are external, right? Or I mean, it
I
has
mean,
to be environmental.
everything comes from somewhere,
Right.
right? So, for example, anxiety can come from a physical experience that you experience that created fear. Because remember, part of our subconscious mind wants to keep us safe. So,
Right.
if you almost get bitten by a dog at the age of 2, your subconscious mind goes, "Oh shit, whatever that creature is not safe for you. From this moment onwards, anytime you're close to a dog, I'm going to release those fear chemicals because I want to try to keep you safe." And that's what causes irrational fears and anxiety. So that's, one place these types of things can come from. But you can also pick it up like from your parents. So if you grow up with a parent who is obsessed with fears of feeling like it's not safe to be outside past 7 p.m. at night, then as a child, as you witness that behavior in your parent, then you also pick up that programming as well. So the programming can come from a variety of places. And the key to shifting it is first and foremost identifying what's the belief that's anchored by a story that I'm telling myself about circumstance XYZ.
Right. Yeah. See, that's just where I'm like with parenting, I'm freaking out. So my 11-year-old, we're like, he's so brave and wants to run like in these like it's not sketchy, like dangerous, like I'm gonna get murdered, but the sidewalk's gravelly. And I'm like, the sidewalk can't be gravelly. I'm gonna fall and break my leg. I've got all these fears where he just doesn't. Like the other day, he bombed this hill, like our hill out here and it was raining and he's like, we're going, and I'm like, oh my god, you're gonna die, you're gonna break your leg, like all this stuff. And
But here's the thing. So why is it that they're not afraid? Is it that is he not afraid because he's got a strong connection to source, which they have at that age, which he knows his safety and his limitation. So maybe he's getting the green light from source, right? Or maybe it's just sheer stupidity, right?
yeah, okay.
Lack of experience, right? I remember there was one clip that somebody asked in the Abraham-Hicks hot seat about a child, a toddler or something running over towards a freeway, and would source stop that from happening or interfere. And I remember her saying something along the lines of, um, the source's guidance is still strong at that age and would prevent anything from happening or something like that. It was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it goes for me. It goes like as high as like danger and like me being a helicopter parent, and then it's like my 3-year-old doesn't want to eat anything but chicken nuggets, and so I'm like, wait, how bad is this? Is this bad? Like and so I keep running through your thing in your head, like or your words in my head, saying, it's
Well,
only bad if you put.
here's my experience as a parent. It's that, if my son is a vibrational match to breaking his nose, it doesn't matter if I put a helmet on and a face mask and duct tape it to his head so he can't
Mm,
take it off. There's nothing I can do to prevent him from breaking his nose if he's a vibrational match to breaking his nose.
right.
So, as parents, it's almost like we create this false sense of able to protect our kids. For me as a parent, my number one priority as a dad is to teach my kids about their connection to source and learning how to tune into their inner guidance,
Okay.
because their inner guidance is smarter than me,
Sure.
right? And for me, I've got, I don't have a fear, but if I was afraid that my son was going to hurt himself, well, and I wanted to stop him from doing something, well, source might have a different opinion on what's the best unfolding for him. And who am I to get in the way of what source is dictating the path of least resistance.
So in your house, do you use like source? Do you say source? Like these are the words you use, or I don't know,
No,
inner
I
guidance?
mean, when Nick and I talk, we use source or inner guidance.
Okay.
The word God has come through in channeling recently, which has been interesting. But it's like I don't talk to source. I know that source is always, it's more like living blended with source, knowing that, knowing what a source impulse feels like and following those source guided impulses.
Yeah, I'm just talking about, I mean, how old's your son? He's 12
Yeah.
or 10. Well, sorry. But yes, so it's like, to me, like, what words can you use? But I guess that's your own
But him,
interaction.
like,
You know what to do there.
like, so my son, he was, he sees spirits. Oh yeah, until he was like 8 or 9, he would wake us up most nights because he was seeing spirits in his room and wanting to sleep on the floor at our place, in the bedroom. So he's always been very connected, seeing spirits, and he'd share his experiences and stuff. He's been on some of the collective live calls. He's totally open and totally gets this stuff. I think a lot of kids do. My daughter gets it too in her own way.
Sure.
So I think kids are very connected, if we are open to their connectedness.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's really good.
Yeah. And I used to do remote viewing exercises with the kids, and they would eat it up. They were so good at it.
That was my favorite thing. I gotta figure out a way to work that in here. The one time I did it, like, I can never do it. Like, I can never tap into it. But I watched you do it with Caroline one time. Oh my gosh. It was so good. Oh
Yeah. And what's fun too is I've taught remote viewing at and with live audiences and stuff, and people who don't know what remote viewing is or how to do it. And I would take them through the stages of doing a remote viewing with a blind target. And then all of a sudden, like, I remember one year I did it, and the blind target was like a snowman. And like some people had sketched the snowman, people ice cold winter, and people who had never done anything psychic or even believed in it before were tapping into it. So it's a lot of fun. We did a few of those actually in the collective years ago.
Yeah. I was there for that. I mean, it was like so close to magic that I was like, oh, I can't explain that one. That's so fun.
Yeah.
All right, more questions. I realized today that I have both negative and positive feelings about a subject. Any advice?
So what comes to mind is, so the wording here is interesting. So, and this is how most people would word it, is I have negative and positive feelings about a subject. And I would reword that to I am creating positive and negative feelings towards a subject, because all negative feelings and all positive feelings are rooted in us activating them through our stories. So there is nothing wrong with having negative and positive feelings towards a subject. If your goal is to have dominantly positive on that subject and work your way out of the negative, then it's about asking yourself, okay, these negative feelings, I feel this way because, right? And then a belief or a story is going to come up. And then it's about choosing a different story, reframing that story to something that's more serving to you.
Okay. I want to have more. I want to have follow up to it, but there's so many questions. Okay. How about should I go about going all in my faith? I'm trying my hardest to trust the process. That's fascinating.
Yeah, the whole thing about trust comes up a lot. And what's interesting about trust is, what do you need trust for? Is it, for a lot of people, the trust is trusting that my desires are going to show up, which is attachment to outcome, right? So a lot of people throw the word trust around. And whenever somebody throws the word trust at me, I typically dive into, okay, so trust, explain to me, what is this trust that you're looking for? And for a lot of people, it might be like awareness that, trust is like, goes hand in hand with the belief or story that there's some kind of doubt involved. So for me, like, trust isn't a thing because, like, I know without a shadow of a doubt in source and my connection to source and the mechanism of synchronicity and all of that stuff. For me, all of that stuff, because of my life experiences, is so 100% concrete and real that like the concept of trust isn't even on the table.
Okay. And so, like, is it a feeling for you? It's just like your trust is it past experiences? I guess it's a combination of maybe past experience,
Well, like,
or you just it's a feeling.
so when you woke up this morning,
Right.
was there any questioning that the sun was going to come up?
Right. No, there you go.
Did you worry about trusting that the sun was going to come up?
Right. No.
No, because it just does. It just is. There's no need to reflect on whether the sun's going to come up or not and trust in it, because you know without a shadow of a doubt that yeah, the sun's going to come up. It has probably for who knows how many millions or billions of years. So I would say that if there's a need of trust, if there's a seeking of trust, then there's also a story going on in your mind of that's fueling some type of uncertainty or doubt, and to explore that uncertainty or doubt in order to achieve maybe that deeper level of trust that you might be looking for.
And so with that, is it like more of a blanket? I mean, like for the most part, are you having this blanket, everything's going to be fine, this big trust? Or is it an intuitive, like turn left here, you know?
It's like a knowingness. It's like, you know, when you're in these really high states of alignment, when you feel really connected, it's like this almost this invincible feeling, right? So it's like when you live in alignment frequently enough, it's like that feeling almost becomes the default. And it's not invincible like, oh, I can go, walk in front of a tank and not get crushed. Like
Right.
it's more of a like, it's just this pure unconditional love feeling, knowing that everything in physical reality is going through a perfect unfolding and I'm just here to experience it. And any part of us that says that it isn't a perfect unfolding is that inner critic part of us that's disconnected from source.
Yeah, that's really good. I don't know what to say. We discuss health anxiety after a loved one passes. Okay. That's
Yeah, I
heavy.
mean, but it's again, all anxiety comes from the same place. It comes from a story that's being told. So it's about exploring the unsafety, because anxiety is a belief in the possibility of unsafety. So it's asking that question, that anxious feeling, that unsafe feeling, I feel this way because, and then seeing what comes up, and then you start working with that story.
Okay. So like with this, is it like I mean, eventually you want to get to it's a celebration of that person's life, but I mean, it probably doesn't feel like that right away. I mean, you're missing that person.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that can be talked about around transitioning.
Sure.
Um, I think for most people, the grief comes from this perception that that person is no longer exists. And yeah, that person no longer exists from a physical vantage point, but they still exist just as much. You just can't taste them, touch them, smell them, hear them in the traditional sense. Now, I've got a friend, Cindy. I remember one time I was sitting on my couch and she said, "Oh, Nick, there's somebody sitting next to you." I'm
Hmm.
like, "What do you mean?" And then she described the spirit to a T, and it was like a relative that had transitioned. And she said stuff that like you knew it was like spot on.
Wow.
And she said, "Oh, he just wants you to know this, that. You're doing a great job with this, that, and the other thing. Keep up the good work." So like transitioned is just moved on from the physical, and none of us are meant to be here for eternity in the physical. We are meant to transition back to source, and I'm sure we come in and out of the physical as we evolve, but we are truly infinite beings.
Do you have a lot of friends that are, you know, I don't know what's the term to see energy?
I mean, my son can.
Okay.
I don't think he's 12 now. He hasn't talked about it as much in the last couple of years, so I think it's kind of faded into the background a bit for him.
Mm.
Um, I would say I know a handful of people who can do that.
Is that the Abraham-Hicks thing? Like Esther sees energy. Is that the thing? Do you know?
I think there's a difference in seeing spirit and seeing energy.
Oh, okay.
Um, it's happened
Explain.
to me.
Yeah.
It's happened to me a couple of times.
Oh.
And to me, it looked more like like something you would see almost in the physical. But some people do see it as, I think, as like energy shadows or energy clouds. I remember once Nick said she could see a spirit baby behind me in a restaurant. So I think different people feel, sense spirit in different ways.
Like you actually saw a physical like thing, or you saw like a I don't know, a
It
Taurus
was it
field.
was literally it was like a day or two before my son was born, and it was in
Mm.
the morning, and I was just waking up, and my eyes were half open, and it's like I saw this figure sitting in like the windowsill, in the bedroom, and then when I saw it, it kind of jarred me, and then I closed my eyes and opened them again, and it was gone. But like I completely distinctively remember, and it had something to do with, my one of my son's spirit guides or something like that.
There was an Abraham-Hicks clip where she was talking about like fireflies, I think. Have you ever heard any of that? Yeah, it's like I guess that's what she sees as.
I think spirit can take on a
Wow.
lot of different forms.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's so fascinating to me because like I didn't no experiences with that, but like the idea of
Yeah,
seeing
and I
something.
think so. Something somebody told me years ago was that we are transitioning from Homo sapiens to, she called it Homo galactus,
Hmm.
which was kind of the next evolution of what or who or what we are. And Homo galactus was kind of the species of human that becomes aware of existence beyond the 3D physical, whether it be non-physical beings, whether it be aliens, whether it be source. So like the next iteration of humans is a version of us who's aware of all of this stuff.
And is it like did they have like a sense of what that is? Is that supposed to be the aliens?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
There's different takes on aliens. I don't like getting into it because to me it doesn't feel very relevant.
Okay.
Like I think there's source beings which are completely non-physical. There's completely physical beings like humans, and then I think there's quasi-physical beings which exist in both planes. Um, Now, whether you want to classify those as aliens or not, I don't know.
That's really okay. Here we go. Share with us your morning process of getting into your heart space and expanding your energy. Yeah, I think you went over it earlier, but I
Yeah,
was really good.
it's just dropping. So it's like locate where your consciousness sits. So anybody here can right now take a second, take a deep breath in, and notice if your consciousness is like right now I can feel it. It's kind of like hovering between here and here for me.
Oh, okay.
But take a second and notice where your consciousness is sitting. It's almost like where your mind chatter wants to come from, right? And then take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, just like drop it into your body. And for me, when I do that, I could feel myself dropping into here. I can feel that connection of source tingling. I can feel energy running through my legs. And then from that place, then I begin to expand and open up my heart and my energy.
Now, do you get different emotions from that, or like does it expand?
I'd say it's like a feeling of like well-being, like a warm,
Okay.
connected, heart-centered, just feels good. And I feel like that's where we're supposed to be. But because as humans, the way that society is structured, um, our evolution is very focused on the development of the intellect, which puts us in our mind dominantly. We're out of balance in the sense that we're meant to be in here mostly, but we're mostly living up here. And this is where we should be. And that's where our connection to source comes from.
The other day, my wife gave me a face massage. She was rubbing my face. I was laying
That's
on
right.
her.
She is a massage therapist, right?
And so normally I don't want massages. I don't like it. Anyway, I was in a good mood and she goes, "Come here, I'm gonna rub your face." And so she's rubbing half of my face, right?
I saw
And
there's Nick used to talk about something called face yoga. There's like a face yoga you can do.
were there just
Um,
doing
I
that?
don't know what it is. Anyways, keep going. I want to hear the rest of the story.
Okay, so I was giggling and I felt feelings I've never felt before. It was how I wanted to describe as euphoria. I don't know that I had ever felt euphoria before that moment.
Well, emotions, the energy of emotions kind of gets stored in like the cells of our body too, right? So I've got a friend who is very connected. He sees spirits, like I talked about earlier, and he's a massage therapist. And when he first started, when he graduated from school and he went to work somewhere as like massage addict or something like that, where people can kind of just come in for 1 hour massage at a time. And he worked there with like 6 or 7 other massage therapists, and people would come in and they would go in for this massage and they would leave crying.
Mm-hmm.
And the owners of this clinic did not understand what was going on because it wasn't happening with the other therapists. And it wasn't a bad cry because these people kept booking in again and kept coming back. And it's because, he was connected in a way energetically where he knew where to go and what to push. He knew energetically, he could kind of see where the stuck emotions were in people's bodies and where to massage and how to massage to release that stuck energy. And of course, when you do that, then those people would cry and release.
Yeah, it was literally like a release. I wasn't crying, but I was giggling with euphoria. And so,
can we get that on video next time? Who wants to see Nick? Who
my
wants to see
face was all
Nicole
like, it
giggling
felt
with
like
euphoria?
it did. I felt like I had Bell's palsy. I was like, just half of me was like droopy. It was so relaxed. I had to I go, you got to do the other side. I got to balance this out because I can't handle this. But okay, so well, think of I guess I had always thought I felt every emotion, but I've never felt that level of emotion. And it's like how you were describing. You were going into your heart. You were like out of your head, and I assume I was out of my head because it just I've just never felt that, and so it was like
And
the
there's
ultimate experience.
a lot of people are kind of stuck up here, right?
Yeah.
So when people are in fight or flight, when people experience trauma or a lot of anxiety, you're stuck in your head. You're up here all the time and you can't process emotions, maybe a little bit, but you have to go down here to feel, right? So like, we created a program years ago called what was it? The quantum. Nick, are you here? What was that quantum training program?
Okay.
And it was about, getting people, there was 4 steps. And the very first step was training people to get grounded because most people aren't living grounded. Most people are stuck up here all the time. And if you want a strong connection to source, you have to be in your heart. I think in a channeling session, I think Nick said, Source said that your heart and your nervous system are the 2 most important things that need to be tended to for that strong connection to source.
And I think that's the word, right? Tended to, like an active approach or a deliberate approach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick says it was the quantum calibration process. That's what it was. It was like a 4-part training program that we had released years ago. And it's interesting because like something like grounding, everybody knows what grounding is, but it's like sounds so boring and mundane, right? Like people don't understand. They're like, oh, I want to win the lottery. How can I win the lottery? What do I need to focus on? Well, you need to get out of your head and drop into your heart. You need to learn how to do that and stay there for a good part of the day. Well, it doesn't sound like fun. That can't be right. And then they move on, right? It's interesting.
Yeah, because there's no action there, right? It's like, how should it be this easy?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is it's success and manifestation, all of this stuff. It's not high IQ, complicated stuff. It's not about what direction your chakras are spinning or if your third eye is open or any of that stuff. It's really about simplicity and consistency with those simple things.
And so that's like that. I mean, like I said in the past, I think, and you said you don't have a morning practice per se, but I imagine you're consciously aware of where your energy is, like all the time, probably.
I try to be more and more.
Yeah.
But like when you get up, so if I'm outside working on the sauna, installing tongue and groove boards on the side of the wall, I'm so now in that present moment in what I'm doing that I'm not consciously checking in. But when I have moments of space in the day where I find myself not doing anything and kind of sitting on the couch drinking a tea, that's when I'll do my check-in. And if I notice there's like density or a sticky point or a feeling of, we'll call it discomfort, that's when I'll tune in and I'll feel it out and transmute it.
And so do you practice segment intending or some version of it?
Not really.
Okay.
I know what it is and I've taught it and I might have played with it some. Something that was in that same calibration program was similar to segment intending, which was, I call it like regrounding. So there's a meditation in that training which help people achieve and hold that grounded state. And then once you really know what that grounded state feels like, then it's about re-triggering that grounded state as frequently as possible. So one of the ways was every time you step through a doorway, you could call that a new segment, take 10 seconds, pause, reground, and then hold and continue. So that's a little bit similar to segment intending, a little bit different.
I think that's exactly what it is supposed to be. Yeah, in this segment, how do I want to feel? And she got done saying like how, how often is a new segment? I set my watch. I was doing a video for it, and every half hour I set my watch, a timer went off, and then I was intending how I wanted to feel.
Yeah, I think the Abraham-Hicks definition of segment intending is every time you step into a new moment in your day, you intend, this is how I want this to play out. And I think that, there's a little bit of attachment to outcome there. Like there's a few things about doing it that way that disagree is a strong word, but I think a better way to do it is not intending on how you want something to play out, but intending on, as I step into the moment, this is how I want to feel.
Right.
And feeling that way is not about what's going on externally. It's about what's going on internally. So it's when you step into that moment, choosing how you want to feel and then tuning into that state rather than making it dependent on what's going on externally in that segment.
And so like, would you play around with like, maybe euphoria is too high of a feeling to feel at 11 a.m. or something, but I mean, joy always feels nice.
I would say instead of intending to reach for a specific emotion, I think for me, it's how present can I be in the moment that I'm in? And like, for me, it's almost a default now to tune into like what feels best in that moment. So like just tuning into the deliciousness of this and then that, and then this, and then that. So like right now, like this is a really delicious conversation. I can feel that. This is a really good cup of coffee and I can feel that. There's some amazingly cool comments in the chat section and I can feel that. So like all of this tuning into these satisfying things is almost happening like by default in the background.
And so that, I mean, and you're focused here now, not on in 2 hours, I need to do this. I need to meet the electrician.
Yeah, because your power is in the now. You can only activate frequencies in the now. I can't control what frequencies I'm going to put out in an hour from now or an hour ago, right? It's all about what I'm doing here and now.
Would you ever do okay, I want to maybe not manifest a certain thing, but I want to feel this like kind of far out feeling? Have you ever played around with that, or you just don't bother anymore? Because like, wouldn't it feel great to like have that feeling of?
To me, that's trying to control reality.
Okay.
And to me, if there's the need to control reality, then there's an aspect of there's something wrong with reality.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like the unfolding is orchestrated and co-created between me and source. Source is unconditionally loving. Source is infinitely intelligent. They can orchestrate any unfolding at all. So if this is what I'm experiencing right here, right now, this has to be the absolute best thing for me to be experiencing.
It's really good. Can you? No, I'm just finishing everything with how good it is. I'm thinking of all these clips we're gonna make. It's so good because, like, for real, like, there's a lot of people that want desired outcomes, of course, and so
And anytime there's desire, there's nothing wrong with desired outcomes, but it's the attachment to the outcomes that kink the receiving hose.
Right. Yeah. It's a letdown to me. Like if it doesn't happen, then it just shifts it instead of being in this present moment. Exactly.
Yeah. And there's an element of giving your power away when you require these outcomes in order to feel a certain way.
Exactly. Can you talk about how you get clear about what you want? I've been feeling very satisfied with my reality. I'm hazy about what I want to know is coming and what is about to unfold.
So
Okay.
so here's the question. If you really feel satisfied in your reality, if your reality truly feels delicious and magical and synchronistic, does it even matter what comes next?
Right. There is excitement for expansion, right? And can
There's
you
always
feel that
excitement.
okay, so it still applies here.
Yeah, because if there was no excitement to next things, then what's the point of anything? Right?
So, and you can do that in this now. You can,
Yeah,
in this, you're
right now,
excited.
I'm building the sauna. I'm excited to see what it's going to look like when the interior is done, or when the benches are done, or when we turn the heater on for the first time. Right? I'm playing in a disc golf tournament this weekend. I'm excited to see how we're going to do as a team, because it's a team event. I'm excited to see how delicious the pizza is going to taste that they're serving us. Right? Like, there's always things to look forward to. The question you want to ask yourself is, through what filter am I looking at these things that are coming up in my future? Am I looking at them through the filter of, I'm excited, they're going to serve me no matter what the unfolding is, or through the filter of doubt and negative expectation?
Do you ever feel doubt?
I must. um,
That's pretty cool that you have to think about it.
yeah, not off the top of my head. Like, there was a delivery coming on Tuesday, the sauna heater. Or what day did it come? Tuesday, Monday, and it was like 3:30, and they stopped delivering at 4:30, and I was like, oh, I doubt it's going to come today. But that's like the extent of what I can think of.
Wow, that's great.
Well, talk to me about doubt. So what do you mean about when you say that? Like,
I don't know. I'm so the opposite. Like I'm so in my head all the time that just by talking to you every Wednesday is making a huge deal. Like just by joining in on this conversation, I could take so much from other people. It's like constantly repeating the message, which is so good. It's so good to hear.
well, that benefit of the school of expansion, right? Is even if it's all stuff you already know, you're coming in and you're calibrating to a vibration of a community that's focused on that high level vibration.
Yeah, but it is like without that, there's a lot of self-doubt or there's chatter in here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's part of us evolving as a species, is stepping out of up here and living in here. Let me ask you this. So when you were running this morning, and the last, how many days have you been running for?
No, it's only been, well, in the morning, just 2. I've been,
Okay. So here's the question. So do you consciously notice a difference in your mental chatter while you're running versus what afterwards, or later in the day?
yeah. So definitely later in the day. In the moment, I'm like, I was guarded because I'm just not. I've seen deer. I've seen like things with horns, and I am like, it was dark, so that part doesn't apply. But yeah, no, later, like that was wild, and I'm excited for this moment. I'm excited for later. It's less chatter, and how
Yeah.
much of that is maybe a physical draining? Maybe
Well,
not. I wasn't
it is
necessarily
like,
drained.
I remember when I used to play competitive volleyball and stuff when I was younger, that the days that I did my homework after practice, I could focus way better than days where I didn't exercise and I was trying to sit there and do my homework. Right.
Right.
And it's because physical activity, again, pulls you out of your mind, grounds you back into your body.
Yeah. To me, it's this. constant reminder. Like that's really what the power here is. I feel for me, it's like this. Oh yeah, no, I mean all of this stuff is like working its way into my life, and I'm manifesting more like stuff I'm not even
Well,
really
here's
trying to manifest. Anyway,
the crux of all of this, and this is what Source has been telling me through Nick in the last week, is that like law of attraction is just a distraction.
oh, okay,
It's watering down, and it's not to invalidate it. It's an important part of the journey because it's what led us here. But what's really important is not manifestation. What's really important is harnessing and developing and living integrated and connected to source. That's the magic. And that's what people really want. If they could really tune in and really realize, that's what people should be looking at more than anything.
right, and oh, it's so powerful. It's so like there's nothing right like it, right? It's how you were saying earlier. It's that trust. It's that knowing. It's all those things. It's all everything.
It completely changes the way you experience physical reality. 100%.
Yeah. Can we talk about how to not worry about when someone you love is hospitalized? That's tough, right?
Yeah. So, and she says here, and be of greater influence, die processes, but falling back into worry. So, my belief is that our coming into physical reality and our exit from physical reality is also 100% pre planned, orchestrated by source. So, when somebody or something like a cat makes its exit from physical reality, it's like it's destiny. It's when it was meant to happen. It was part of the unfolding, part of the plan since day one.
Right.
So and the word here, the key word here is how do you not worry? I remember Abraham saying something along the lines of how funny it was that when somebody transitions into source, that the physical people are worried about the source people, the source person that's now in source and transitioned, and they're perfectly fine. And the source person is worried about the human person. Well, source doesn't worry, but so there's this ironic, worry going on, this circle of worry when everybody's absolutely perfectly fine.
And so do you feel like hanging on to like there's a mourning process, I assume? You're okay with that, right? Or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think mourning is an absolutely natural human thing. If something happened to somebody that I love, of course I would miss their physical presence. Um, but I would also spend time connecting to their source essence and their source of vibration and tuning into that deliciousness too.
Yeah. If within you feel great, but you feel as though there's something still there, whether it's fear, and you have done, oh, I'm not reading this very well. So she's clearing, right? Is your mind playing tricks on you, even though it's there, but you've cleared it, but it's still there?
If you haven't, if it's still there, then there's still aspects of it that haven't been cleared. That's why we call the belief tree process the belief tree process, because oftentimes an emotion will have multiple roots, and sometimes clearing one root will clear out all the other roots, but sometimes you need to look at 3 or 4 different roots in order to get the bulk of what needs to be cleared.
And so, like, how? Okay, so okay, it came back up. I thought I was good for 2 months. It came back up. You just do the
Go,
process again and clear
go right
that.
back. Go right back into the belief tree process,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Sitting with the emotion, asking yourself, I feel this way because, or what's the story I'm telling that's fueling this belief. And oftentimes, of course, when it's our own stuff, we're in the energy of the problem, so it's harder to sometimes become consciously aware and clear it. And that's where you want to reach out to somebody who knows some of these tools that can help you through the process.
How often does things like that come up where it resurfaces? Maybe it's not as strong, but it's
I
still
see, but here's the thing: is I wouldn't call it resurfacing. It's just
okay.
a different face or a different aspect of the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, like, if you've got not good enough, well, you could have a belief of I'm not good enough because I failed med school. I'm not good enough because dad said so. I'm not good enough because I don't have $1 million bank account.
Right.
Right. So you could have all three. Those are all different aspects fueling an emotion of that feeling of not good enough. Remember, the emotion is just guidance. The emotion is just there to tell you you've got a story that's going on that's not serving you, and you can work through it if you want.
Right. I've gotten so good at calling things in, but I guess where I'm unsatisfied is that there's still things that I have to do that I don't want to do. How do I get rid of the things I no longer desire? I can't speak. It's good.
Yeah. and that comes down to working through the emotions of it.
Right.
Right. If you're unsatisfied, look at the unsatisfaction. I feel this way because, again, everything comes down to what's going on in here, right? So you have to look at what's making me a vibrational match to the experiences that I don't want.
And what typically is it? I mean, do you think that it's just something there? And is it ever like DNA? Does the DNA ever pass down?
I don't. That's a tricky conversation. So I would say, based on my experiences with conversations with source and different things, yes, there's definitely ancestral vibrations that are passed down. Multiple times they've said, Inix here, I'm here to work through some ancestral stuff that has been passed down through, a certain number of generations. I don't know if it's in the DNA per se,
sure,
but if your mom is practicing a certain negative vibration and you're sitting in that womb for 9 months, then yeah, you're probably going to calibrate to that vibration.
Right.
So yes, we carry things forward. On a grander scale, do we come in from source with the intention to clear out some of these things? Probably.
Yeah, she has a follow-up too. Do you ever feel like there's things you have to do? Like if everything is written already, are there things that you have to work through because it's part of why I'm here?
So there's free will.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say there's nothing that you have to do. Now, you do come in with what I would call vibrational predisposition or vibrational intent. So we come into physical reality with things that we intend to do or to experience or to explore. And I think that because our reality is co-created with the non-physical part of us, the source part of us, then those things kind of are automatic, might be a bit of a strong word. But I feel like you can't get it wrong.
Do you think source ever pushes you like past what you're comfortable with? Like that type of expansion?
Yeah, I think if you're ready for that experience, then yes. So source would never co-create and orchestrate something for you that you're not ready for or you can't handle.
Okay. And so, yeah, I feel like you want to say more on that. Go ahead.
Well, you can't, the purpose of our human existence is expansion. It's growth and expansion, right? So you can't grow and expand if you're constantly experiencing the same thing. So our excitement through source is always going to lead us to new experiences. And oftentimes those new experiences are going to be possibly scary or uncomfortable because they're new experiences. So source nudges us towards those things because it's nudging us towards expansion.
Yeah. And so, yeah, to me, it's almost like a different, like I want to distinguish what she's saying differently. It's like maybe I assume she's talking about a calling, like she has this sense of calling, but then it's interesting that it's something she doesn't want to do, right?
But it's interesting because the calling, everything always comes back to development of the self. So like if you're called to write a book, oftentimes people are like, "Ooh, I'm going to write a book and it's going to change the world. I'm here on a mission to change the world." It's never about that. The writing the book is all about you and your expansion through that process.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And you can even say that with like, oh, I have to go to work. I have to do this thing I don't want to do, or and it's still calling you to some level, right?
Yeah, and people say I don't want to go to work, but I have to.
Right.
You don't have to, but going to work is the path of least resistance because you want to get paid so that you can pay your bills and not get fired.
Right. And so would you reframe that for someone that doesn't want to go to work, they feel stuck in work? Do you have them be comfortable in that position, or do they? You're
I don't
saying,
think
well, hey, why
I don't
not?
think that's a black and white answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's to the person.
Yeah, everything comes down to the person and where they're at and what they're looking for and what they want to experience. Remember, you can quit your job, but you take your vibration with you.
Right.
So if you're at a job that makes you feel disempowered, if you don't work through that at an internal level, it doesn't matter where you go, that theme of disempowerment is going to follow you until you rectify it or you transmute it within yourself.
Yeah. That's really powerful. Okay.
Yeah, and that's where, there's kind of two topics here. There's the topic of law of attraction and there's the topic of spirituality. Well, you can't talk about one without the other, because from a spiritual vantage point, if you want to grow and expand and find your power and your connection to source, well, you have to work through all of the things that you're carrying that oppose that. And law of attraction is the best way for you to become consciously aware of what you're practicing.
Right. And so, well, you said, I mean, the two different variations. So what is spirituality then?
Everything.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
in the sense of like purpose,
I would say our conversation today has, even though we're talking about co-creation, I would say co-creation and the human experience and the connection to source and living open-hearted and all of the stuff we're talking about today is beyond the scope of just law of attraction.
Yes, for sure. And so it is that everything you're saying.
Totally.
So do you like classify law of attraction mostly as manifesting?
I would classify law of attraction as a law like the law of gravity. Okay. So law of gravity is, whatever I pick up and drop,
right,
it's going to fall, right? So law of attraction is just what I put out comes back to me, right? So like in its simplest form, that's law of attraction.
So would you say that law of attraction is directing us to spirituality?
I think everything directs us to spirituality, whether we're consciously aware of it or not.
Like a crisis leads people to spirituality, or
totally.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. Do you think it's a situation where it's like, and maybe a negative thing does lead to spirituality even more? I'd be curious about that.
But there is no negative thing.
Right. No, I know. But when you're framing a thing as
contrast.
Yes.
Right?
Contrast.
So the entire purpose of contrast is to get us to gain awareness of what we're practicing so we can shift it. Contrast is the igniter to growth. Always, if we allow it to be, right? Because in the face of contrast, I can do one of two things. I can go, oh, I'm a victim. This wasn't my fault. This is everybody else's fault. Poor me. And I'm not going to grow from that contrast. And guess what? It's just going to slap me in the face again in a different way. Or I can look at contrast and say, okay, what part of me are the seeds to what is sprouting this experience? And what do I need to work through and grow and expand and learn from this so that I shift to a higher vantage point?
Do you think taking ownership is like a big part of that step?
You can't change what you don't own.
Okay. Yeah. And so maybe that's the first step, I assume, is recognizing.
Yeah. And I think,
and not holding on to it, but like
eventually it's not even a step anymore.
Okay.
Right. Because once you really know and understand law of attraction, you understand that everything you experience is a reflection of what you got going on. Right. So when you really embody that, then ownership of everything becomes automatic.
Yeah. Listen, this is really good. That's a good call.
This is always good. This is super fun.
So many questions today. That was great. Thanks everyone for that. That was really good. I don't know. I gotta go take a nap.
Good. That's a sign of expansion.
It's like too much, right? Like it's like really good. Like it's so much to reflect on. I don't know.
But is the reflection even needed?
No, but it is fun to reflect on it. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. I appreciate you so much. Yeah. It's
awesome.
Really good.
Likewise, I appreciate you and all of the beautiful 20-some people who tuned in with us live.
Oh, there was a lot of people today. Maybe they got things going.
Yeah.
In and out.
And a reminder for our School of Expansion students, 3 o'clock Eastern today is our live channeling with Anik. So you'll all have an opportunity to put your hand up and get in the hot seat and talk directly to Source, which is always a blast. I can't wait to see what comes through. And yeah, anything else you want to add or throw in?
No, I'm excited about that one too. Like that one, I turn off the camera, I go sit over here, and just that one's great. It's really, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I don't
awesome.
even remember. The last time we did this was like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
With Anik, and I don't even remember what was discussed, but I remember it was delicious stuff.
A lot of what you said, like that open-heartedness and being open and reflecting. Am I open? Am I am I open to receiving, or am I shut down? And just a
Yeah,
simple question like that.
I think the two simple questions people need to ask themselves more is, how do I feel in my body? Right?
Yes.
Do I feel relaxed, or do I feel tense and rigid? And that's telling you whether, how open you are, how receptive you are, how resistant you are. And then, am I in my head or am I in my heart?
Exactly. Oh, all right. Thank
Awesome.
you so much.
Somebody's asking, what's the name of the guy in the red shirt? That's Nick. We're both Nicks. Nick and Nick.
It's a pink shirt. Is
Usually
it
our
coming
names
off
are
as red?
No, it looks magenta to me.
Yeah,
Violet,
magenta. Yeah.
Cool.
Right?
I wouldn't be able to focus if I had that on my shirt. I'd be too distracted. Awesome. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we'll see you guys again next week. Same time, same place.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you again.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.